welcome to the Hold My Helmet Football Podcast. I'm your host, Will Reichling. Now, today, we're not going to get into any predictions on standings, no top 10s. I just want to get into some simple news and simply how I feel about it. So, the San Francisco 49ers, what is their quarterback situation? I mean, I know their quarterback situation, and that's Brock Purdy. That's who they should go with. If he's healthy, you play Brock Purdy. There's no question about that. Now, the question becomes, why did they even decide to go pick up Sam Darnold? And that's really because, they have no idea what Trey Lance is. And I have no idea what Trey Lance is. Brock Purdy's first 5 career starts, 67.1 completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 107.3 passer rating. Meanwhile, Trey Lance, 4 starts, 54.9 completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and an 84.5 passer rating. So, clearly Brock Purdy's better than Trey Lance. I mean, one was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. The other was the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. That seems to be irrelevant because Brock Purdy's better than Trey Lance. This really just goes to show that you never know what you're going to get in the draft. I was sitting there screaming when I heard that the 49ers wanted Mac Jones. I'm like, you got to get Trey Lance. What are you doing? He's got the better arm. He's bigger. He can move better. And, and to me, it turns out right now, Mac Jones is a better player. I know he had an off season last year, but when he had a capable offensive coordinator, he had a good season his rookie season. And Trey Lance has been inaccurate at best. If we're going to be honest, Justin Fields probably should have been the pick at number 3, not Mac Jones or Trey Lance. Because if you had to pick between the two, in hindsight, they probably should have went with Mac Jones. To me, Sam Darnold is a better version of Trey Lance. They're very similar. I mean, I think Trey Lance is a little bigger, but Darnold is more accurate in my opinion. He moves, and apparently Trey Lance doesn't move as well as people thought. So clearly they brought in Darnold for a reason. They figured that Sam Darnold fit the system well. And as a Jets fan, with my luck, I wouldn't be shocked if Purdy gets hurt and Lance either gets hurt or goes somewhere else, and Sam Darnold leads the Niners to, another NFC Championship game. My luck as a Jet fan, and then following 5 years from now, the same will happen for Zach Wilson. So that's just the way it goes as a Jet fan sometimes. But like I said, it just shows how hard it is to draft a quarterback nowadays. That whole 2018 draft, I was completely wrong about basically all of it but Baker. I knew Baker was not talented enough to be the number 1 overall pick. But I thought Darnold was going to be the best quarterback in the draft. He hasn't been at number 3. And then I think it was number 7, Josh Allen. I didn't believe in him. I thought he was inaccurate. I thought he was wild. He didn't have much success in college. He did look good in the Senior Bowl, so that did start to change my opinion a little bit, but I thought Josh Rosen was better, and Josh Rosen was picked 10, and Josh Rosen was the worst one out of that draft by far. Where is he now? I have no idea. I think he's on the practice squad somewhere, or he's out of the league. So that was a terrible pick, and it just shows that I don't know anything, and a lot of people don't know anything, but I definitely didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And then Lamar Jackson at number 32, who ends up winning an MVP. And then people were saying he was a running back. Not a quarterback, a running back. So that whole entire draft I got wrong. Besides, I guess Baker. I liked Baker. I just didn't like him as the number 1 overall pick. So the Niners missed on that. But other than that, the Niners have basically hit on every pick. I mean, look at their defense, the star players on their offense. They've hit on multiple picks. I'm pretty sure George Kittle was a 5th rounder. And you start to wonder, is Kyle Shanahan ever going to win a Super Bowl? He's a great coach, and I don't think they'd ever get rid of him. But it seems like he can't get over that hurdle. And even in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, 28-3 against Tom Brady, couldn't put him away. Then a similar situation against Mahomes and the Chiefs with the Niners. Garoppolo, they had the lead, basically outplayed Mahomes for 3 quarters, then can't put him away. So it seems like it's a recurring theme with Kyle Shanahan, or he just never has the quarterback. I mean, he got Matt Ryan to win MVP as the offensive coordinator, but we all know Matt Ryan is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, he got the most out of Matt Ryan, to say the least. So, Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. He's a great offensive schemer. All his coordinators, offense and defense, keep ending up with head coaching jobs. So, Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. He's been in the league for a long time. It just comes down to luck sometimes. I mean, like, last year, Christian McCaffrey was throwing passes. But watch out for Trey Lance to the Raiders. I mean, I think the Raiders are going to tank for Caleb Williams if Garoppolo doesn't play. But it would make sense if Garoppolo doesn't play because Trey Lance gives you some kind of hope, I guess. What he really gives you is someone who you can just watch and be like, all right, what does he got? He was a high draft pick. I'm taking a flyer on him. You probably trade for him for, a 5th, 6th round pick, probably a 6th. Because what has he been? What's his value right now? Nothing. So you take a flyer on him. So, but the only reason I don't think that would ever happen is because Josh McDaniels has proven that he only likes to go with players he coached. Uh, it's obvious. I mean, look at their backup, Brian Hoyer, and their starter, Jimmy Garoppolo, both former Patriots that he coached. So I don't really see that happening. Like I said, he's stubborn, Josh McDaniels, and he's not going to go out there and trade for Trey Lance because he doesn't know what Trey Lance is, and he wants people that he knows are going to listen to him and abide by his system, basically. You know, people that don't go by Josh McDaniels' system, get him out of town. So I don't see Trey Lance staying on the Niners for the entire season. Like I said, Brock Purdy's their starter. You win 8 games in a row, you're going to start, especially when they have Super Bowl aspirations. You don't have time to wait to see what Trey Lance has got. You need to win a Super Bowl now. You've been there once. You've been in the NFC Championship game 3 times under the Kyle Shanahan era. The time is now. You don't have time for this. And that's why they got Darnold as the backup, because Darnold could fit in like a Brock Purdy and, just abide by the system, get it to his, running back who's also a receiver, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, the receiver who's also a running back, and your tight end, Kittle. Yeah, and Ayuk. Don't forget about Ayuk. So you got the talent everywhere, and then the defense is just going to clobber for you. So you don't have time for someone that has a 54.9% completion percentage. You got to be able to hit your targets in an offense like this. They're running downfield wide open. You can't be overthrowing them. And George Kittle said he was overthrowing them in practice. Tried to brush it off, but I heard him. So Niners, time's now. All right, so I'd like to get into the way the NFL has been going with the kickoff. Now the NFL's made a rule on kickoffs that a ball can be fair caught anywhere inside 25 yards, and the ball will be placed at the 25-yard line. First off, they moved the kickoff from the 30 to the 35-yard line back in 2010, so like 13, 14 years ago. Then, not too long ago, they changed when you take a knee in the end zone, you no longer get the ball at the 20, you get it to 25, or if the ball goes out the back of the end zone. Then when they moved it from the 20 to 25, teams started to strategize a little bit. They're like, all right, how do we get the most out of this? They would kick the ball really high, really short, about the 1-2 yard line out of the end zone, so the kickoff team could run all the way to the other side of the field and tackle the returner at like the 10, 12, 15 yard line. So that was a good strategy for a while, and that's been going on for a while. Now that's going to be gone because you kick it at the 2 or 3, fair catch, going to be at the 25. At this point, why don't you just get rid of kickoffs? Like, what are we doing at this point? Just get rid of kickoffs, make it over with. At this point, it's not even going to be fun to watch. You're going to see kick returners never returning the ball. Only if you have a special guy back there, and you're like, you know what? We need something. We need a spark. Other than that, you're not going to see much of the kickoff return touchdowns anymore. We already saw less of them. That Nyheim Hines game was something special because of the Damar Hamlin thing, but also because he had 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown in that game. You're not going to see that anymore. You're just not going to see that anymore. So there'll be no more strategy. Everything will just be fair caught, put it to 25. I don't agree with Andy Reid, though. I mean, I don't think it's going to become flag football eventually. People love the contact and the violence to some degree. You don't want to see people get hurt like Damar Hamlin, but people do like the big hits and all that. Although I will say, as I gotten older, I used to like it more when I was younger. Then as you get older, you kind of think to yourself like, oh, that would hurt me if that happened to me. So you start to be more conscious about it as you get older. But, I took a speech class once. So in the speech class, we had to do a speech presentation one time. And the guidelines for that was basically, pick a topic that, is a current issue going on and pick a side of that issue and your solution, your opinion of a solution. And a guy actually picked in my class the head injuries, CTE, and concussions. And his solution was, flag football. So I actually picked the same thing. And that's the funny part. We ended up doing the same topic, didn't even know about it. But I picked the same thing. And I was like, you know what, I'm just trying to get an A here. Did not really believe what I was saying. And I was being very drastic at the time. I think this was 2017. So before they made the big changes, and I'll get into that, I basically said my stance on it was, if a head-to-head hit happens, the player that makes the head-to-head hit gets thrown out of the game and fined $1 million. Thinking at the time, that's never going to happen. They're never going to do that. Let alone, I don't think that's the exact number they get fined, but that's pretty much what happens. If you make an intentional head-to-head hit, you're getting thrown out of the game, you're getting fined. I would have never thought that was going to happen in 2017. But it just shows that we were subconsciously on the way of figuring out this is probably what's going to happen eventually. Is flag football a stretch? I think so, but maybe that's the end game at one point, and I really hope it's not, because I love this game of football, but it is very dangerous, especially since we saw last year with Damar Hamlin, so you got to be careful. Gotta be careful. But if the league really cared about concussions and, injuries, they wouldn't have made it where you're able to flex Thursday night games now and add an extra game to the schedule if they really, really cared. I think they're just trying to cover their behinds from all the years of getting exposed from the CTE dilemma that was going on a decade ago. And here we are now. There are some rule changes based on injuries, not just concussions, that I do agree with. How they've just gotten a lot stricter on the roughing the passer. And in the moment, I always hated it. I'm like, oh, wow, that was a bad call. But it's a quarterback league. We're trying to keep our quarterbacks healthy. We want our stars in the playoffs. So I do understand to a certain degree. This I'm starting to not understand. At this point, just get rid of the kickoff. Make it like a 4th and 15 you have to convert and you get the ball back. Something like the XFL, honestly. Or the USFL. I'm pretty sure it's the XFL where it's like that. Like a 4th and 15 you get. Something like that. That makes it exciting. You have a legitimate chance to get the ball back. Here, it's just, you have no shot now. And onside kicks, they messed with that too. And now you have even amount of players on each side. They made it lame, honestly. They made it very lame. So, will this hurt football? I don't think it'll hurt football. Just the real fans at heart that as a kid, you see all these great kick returners, Darren Sproles. As a Jet fan, Leon Washington was great for us. How am I forgetting Devin Hester? For the Ravens for a while, Jacoby Jones, Josh Cribbs. These were all great returners that, I used to think, in my opinion, the most exciting play in football was the kickoff return, the 109-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. That was the sickest thing to me. Now, you're not going to have that anymore. But it's okay, because football will live. Football will live, and football will prevail. So that's really all I have this week. I wanted to keep this one short, just go into a few topics that have been on my mind. Like, subscribe, share, comment below, and, follow me on TikTok. You can watch Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That's it. Take care. See you next week.